To Ashutosh Mishra joining us live from Beirut. Ashutosh, there's talk on constant firing from Israel's side. In the latest, the UN watchtowers were targeted with two of their peacekeepers injured. Could you tell us more on the onslaught coming in from Israel on Lebanon? How are the civilians there doing and coping with this?
Well, those who are the peacekeepers who were injured are being treated at the United Nations facility. Several countries across the globe have condemned this aggression on the peacekeeping, because that's what the convention, an international convention, that there is aggression or any attack on the peacekeeping force. If I just give you a couple of seconds, what you hear, the humming, this is actually again the Israeli drones are hovering over us. So for last 2 days there was some relaxation. Yesterday these drones were heard in the central part, and by late evening, nearly about 7:30, 7:45, the two residential premises were targeted. Major airstrike, killed nearly 22 people, more than hundreds injured. Now I see yet again in the central part, exactly near the Mediterranean, in the area, I see the Israeli drones are hovering. So what has led now, even the central part, there is a sense of panic, there is a sense of fear, and fear which was looming only in the southern part. We already see the massive movement of the people who are now advancing towards further northern or even leaving the country. There's a huge exodus from the eastern side and the northern side to Syrian border. And at this particular point, just by going some miles, nearly 40 to 45, there is a Syrian border. So we see the influx of Lebanese Syrians are headed towards further. More importantly, this casualty that happened in the residential area of the central Lebanon is creating more sense of panic amongst the people. While the Beirut capital city, one of the most beautiful cities, is literally becoming a refuge center for all of these people. There are 3 million people who are internally displaced. So the number of IDPs are rising. They're taking shelter in schools, in clubs, in different gathering, different places. Subsequently, the world is keeping a close eye in Turkmenistan, where the Iranian president, the Russian president had a meeting. But was there any conclusion about that? The details are yet to be known. Hezbollah says this morning, since they have targeted multiple military bases of Israel in the northern Israel. But clearly, the way we are seeing expansion of the war way beyond south, it is now headed further towards Beirut.
Thanks very much, Ashutosh, for joining us on that. Please stay safe. Now, as Israeli Navy announces invasion through the sea route, India Today's Ashutosh takes the Mediterranean sea route to Lebanon, Israel border, right towards the southern part. Let's have a quick look at this ground report, which is nearly 3 miles after the Israel naval fleet warned many of those locals to evacuate the area as it's dangerous.
We are now en route towards Mediterranean Sea, crossing over Beirut as we are headed further south, exactly where the fishermen of the southern Lebanon encountered with the Israeli Navy. From this part, exactly where the IDF Navy plans to invade in Gaza, and from the Mediterranean coastline to target and carry out offensive against Hezbollah. After ground strike, after air strike, it's now the Navy, the Mediterranean coastline, the maritime strike by the Israeli being planned against Hezbollah. India Today, only global channel now in the Mediterranean to assess the threat over Lebanon after Israel announced a maritime warfare against Hezbollah from the southern coast. Going after a few kilometers, what I see are some boats, the local boats of the Lebanese, which are headed to the central part of Lebanon, as the southern coastline is now virtually blocked by the Israeli Navy warnings. A very few fishermen are venturing out in the Mediterranean. However, the number in usual days are being seen as much more, as the fishermen. There are a huge number. Thousands of these fishermen have their boat anchored near the coastline. I see only one or two, hardly a couple of these boats are in the Mediterranean region. As we go from off coast of Beirut, we are now headed to the southern part of Mediterranean towards the border of Israel. As we met one of the fishermen here, there was discussion about the situation further in the south, many of them not going that side. Our boat owner had an interaction about the situation, and we had a briefing about the possible escalation or the possible threat there. So most of these fishermen said they're not going that side, but we are just en route as to assess the situation about the threat and the kind of offensive that is being planned by Israel through the Mediterranean coastline to invade after ground and air strike. Off coast of Beirut, by traveling a few minutes, very close to the southern part, the maritime border between Lebanon and Israel, it's all wearing a deserted look, a blue ocean, blue sky, but usually flooded with dozens of the fishermen boats is all now deserted. The reason is fear and threat by the Israeli Navy that poses a grave threat even for the civilians who have been warned not to venture out in the sea, as Israel now plans to carry out offensive through the maritime coastal line after ground and air strike, and that poses a great threat for the people of Lebanon as well. Somewhere in the Mediterranean, with this global exclusive coverage, Ashutosh Mishra for India Today.